Thank you.
Okay,
Good evening and welcome. It is June 16th,
yes.
2016. This is the Newmarket School Board. We are just a few minutes late in starting. We've just wrapped up the fourth of our public forums discussing facilities and the work that group has been doing over the last year plus. That was downstairs in the auditorium. And so we have made our transition to the boardroom, and I would invite everyone to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess I'm not going to sit down. Hold on.
Yep.
Oh, should I sit?
No.
Let's do this.
Stand up. Julia?
Let's, Julia, why don't you go home?
You might want to stay.
Julia's got finals and has been,
She's got finals, two of them.
she's
tomorrow.
been burning it all around.
Do your
So
best. We know you do a
we're going to
great job.
segue right to the student report, and you tell us how things are, and then go home and
Study.
stay up all night.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be fun. Okay. Wasn't prepared to go so early. Well, so to start off, finals started today. Today was red A, red B. Tomorrow will be black A, black B. Monday is red C, red D. And Tuesday will be black C, black D. And Wednesday is going to be makeup days for anyone who missed any exams. So, and that is also a half day because it's the last day of school.
Was that some kind of code, Julia? about
What?
The block
day?
schedule.
Well, because block
Block
scheduling, so it's
Oh.
all split up into red and black days. So
Okay.
they broke it up so you had your first two blocks of one day on
One day.
Thursday, and then the other set would be the next day, sort of thing. For sports, baseball finished their season in the Final Four with a record of 11-5. Softball, they ended their season with a record of 5-11. And outdoor track, the girls 4x100 went to the Meet of Champions. The seniors graduated last week, and they had a whole week of events. Tuesday, they went to Canopy Lake Park. Wednesday, they had the SIA banquet at the Oaks. And Thursday was awards night. Congratulations to all the seniors for making it through high school. Middle school field day was yesterday, so it started at 11 and went to 2:30. 8th grade commencement is Tuesday the 21st at 6 p.m. 4th grade field trip, half of the grade is going to Mount Major and the other half is going to Fort Foster. Saturday the 18th, the PTA is going to have a carnival-walkathon at 12 o'clock. 5th grade graduation ceremony is Tuesday the 21st at 1:45. 5th grade step-up day is going to be Wednesday the 22nd. And the 5th grade parent meeting will be Monday, June 20th at 7 o'clock. And the last day of school is next Wednesday. Yeah.
And what did you do on Thursday?
Sleep.
That's awesome. I got to make note of that one. Hold on. Hey,
Now
listen.
that Chris is here, I just want, real quick, I was able to go to graduation again this year, and thanks to Nathan, I handed
Thank
out
you.
diplomas, which is my favorite part, by the way. And you get to go this year for the first time. I'm always so grateful for our little town, and it's such a nice ceremony because it's just so personable. Everybody knows each other, and just you get so excited to see the kids graduate. And the best part, this one kid got his diploma and turned around and took a selfie of the whole audience behind him. And it was it was so cute. But anyways, just good job always to our administration for the great and good job with the kids. Blah blah.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Julia? Come on, she has her finals tomorrow. We could challenge her just a smidge. No?
Should we ask you something in Spanish or? No.
We wish you good luck on the whole week.
Are you staying with us next year? Bonus, Julia.
Yeah. Sweet.
She loves us.
So really, don't feel drawn at all to this place and us until school's back in session, although I'm sure somebody will email you when things are happening, but we hope you have a great summer. And if we don't see you again until September, we will celebrate with you that you probably worked hard all summer and and still need a vacation.
Should be looking at colleges.
I know it, I'm sure. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good night.
I have to say, as she goes, I know I speak for the board, for other members that would say, we've just been blessed with some of the best students sitting as student reps on this board in the years that I've watched and in the years that I've now sat up here, so thank you. Good luck. I'm going to let Linda sit right where she is, because the first recognition on the agenda is Linda Hopi, and let me just talk for a minute, because it's easier. I've got 6 pages worth of notes here to condense into just a couple of brief comments. But our food service director, Linda Hopi, was recognized this year as the Food Service Director of the Year by the School Nutrition Association of New Hampshire. That is a state affiliate of a national organization that supports the very important business of putting good food in the bellies of our kids, because learning doesn't happen at school during the day without the National School Breakfast Program and the National School Lunch Program. That certainly is important for all of our kids. It's even more important for some of our kids for whom it may be the only meal that they have access to, and it's Linda and her crew that make that happen for us. There's a couple of blanks I'll ask Linda to fill in, but I want you to know that she was nominated by Doris Demers, who's the food service director up in Oyster River, our neighbor to the north. Among the things that she shared in her nomination of Linda that was accepted by her peers here in New Hampshire was all of the following. Linda has been involved for a number of years with the association as a member of her profession on both the state and national level. She currently serves as the secretary-treasurer of the state board here in New Hampshire. She's in her 3rd year in that role. Has represented the state at National Legislative Action Conference in Washington, D.C., pursuing all the best that can be and can come for our food service programs around the country. Been a member of that professional association since '99 and is certified by them as well. Locally, she's worked hard to bring solvency to a program that was red when she took over. She's initiated programs and promotions in the school like the Grab and Go breakfast, the Breakfast After the Bell program. She put together and secured a grant from Fuel Up to Play 60 and attained the Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge Bronze Award at our elementary level. She's done things that sound small, but they're really big to the schools, like the pre-ordering of salads and wraps for students and at the elementary school for the staff, I believe. Hosted a student nutrition committee where they did taste testing of new foods to offer feedback to help drive what was coming next. Promoted on a regular basis our National School Lunch Week and our National School Breakfast Weeks, and has been active in putting together an annual holiday dinner. As a manager of her people, which is what she was recognized for as a director of the program, she has for all of her years encouraged and supported her staff with training, which is important to us locally, but now it's a state and federal requirement. There was a mandate that came down over the last cycle. And she has encouraged and supported the participation of her people in the state association. It's a real honor that we have Linda among us, that she is the person responsible for making sure that our little ones are well fed and cared for when it comes to their hot lunch and the breakfast program. So I'm going to ask Linda to join me at the microphone. Tell me anything that I missed and or that I didn't quite get right, and let's recognize Linda as our food service director. Give Chris a minute to follow us with the camera. How'd I do?
Good.
Any of
Did
that
really good.
any of that right?
Got it
Is
all
any of that
right,
wrong? Is
got it
that-
right. Working on some new things this coming year. I'm working on with a grant with Chef Ann. You've seen her on TV for salad bars in both schools, and Fuel Up to Play 60 for another register line to try and make it go faster. So that's a $2,500 grant. The other one is it's just the item complete with everything. I'm also working with the state, and I worked with Pat and Sean and my staff trying to do Seamless Summer. I talked with you a little bit about it. Next year, I'm hoping to come with you early in the year and say, we're going to feed the kids for the summer. There's too many of them going hungry, and we could be their only meal, so look for me later in the year. That's what we're up to for the
Hey,
coming year.
Your award was you first were recognized. Your award was given out. Was it at the spring conference?
Yes.
That was in April, and I don't know where you were. Where was that?
We were at the Puritan Center in Manchester.
Excellent.
Yes.
Hey, listen, we certainly appreciate everything you do.
Thanks, Nate.
This is for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so
Do
much.
come back. We'll have a break so we can all get to have a chance to say hi, and then you can run before we talk about raising lunch prices. How's that?
That works.
So we have a couple of more recognitions, and what I guess I want to say to the people watching at home and the folks here, we'll take a recess as soon as we've finished so we can celebrate everybody. And we'll have some champagne. We'll do that off camera because we went, oh, no, kidding. Shh, I'm sorry, I left that out. It was in my notes. I wasn't supposed to. Miss LaBranch. Miss LaBranch not with us? Pauline LaBranch is retiring as guidance secretary at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. She has been with the district 27 years. What I have tonight in front of me, what you have in front of you conceptually, I'm looking at the notes, but what I have in front of me is 189 years worth of service to the Newmarket community, to the Newmarket schools. Between the support staff, administrative staff, and teaching staff that we'll recognize in the next few minutes, 189 years. Pauline served 27 of those. We have 4 teachers that are leaving us after a combined 124 years of service to our kids. It's just humbling to me. I've been a fraction of that many years myself working in schools, and so to see that kind of longevity, that kind of commitment that folks have made to the education of our students, and remember, it's so much more than the education of our kids. It's the communal rearing of a generation and another generation and another generation in the case of some of these people who have just given so many years to education. And so 124 years. On that list, Pam Caswell has been a teacher of English at our high school for 32 years and is retiring this year. I'm not looking at my notes, and I'm looking, and Caswell's not able to join us tonight, nor is Mr. Fabiano. Jim Fabiano has been a high school chemistry teacher, has been with the district for 26 years. And so we congratulate, appreciate, and recognize the service and the retirement of Pam Caswell and Jim Fabiano tonight as well. We thank them. With us tonight, and we appreciate folks taking the time to join us, Jan Dufour. I never know how to do this because working at the microphone is hard from, I'll come get Jan in just a second. Why don't we do that? I'll come get Jan and I'll come get Carol. Jan Dufour, it's kind of like it's a classroom is what you have to. Jan Dufour has been with us for 27 years. She's a second grade teacher. She was one of our second grade teachers, and so I've had the luxury of having both of the teachers that we'll celebrate here in a minute with my kids. I have to say that Jan has been known, and it has been said that she's warm and friendly, that nature is really what's most important that her colleagues would say about her. She has leapt to and driven forward with school and district initiatives in the quiet and professional manner that is her hallmark, diligent. She has always enjoyed the role of the parent volunteer. Maybe this is how I know her best. She's been famous for her cooking activities with parent volunteers, and I was one of those who was lucky enough to make a mess of the teacher's room and pay for it, as we did. You have to have seen it and experienced it, and then have to be corrected by your own children at the dining room table. No, Dad, wait a moment. She had to set the napkin just right, and she had to. Her classroom has always provided a quiet and caring, structured environment for her students. And so tonight, we recognize Jan Dufour for 27 years as she launches into retirement. Thank you. Also with us tonight, Carol Smart. Madame Smart has been with the school district teaching French through most of that time, if not all. Did you teach? You've had to do dual duty, haven't you, more than once? I'm sure. 39 years she has been on this. She has served as a mentor to incoming world language teachers and has served as the department chair, been a class advisor, even up to and including
Last year.
last year.
Cheers, cheers.
Carol sits on the board of several regional and national world language councils and represents us not only in New Hampshire but in Newmarket very, very well. Has traveled with our students to foreign countries. I was able to note Canada, Spain, and France. If there are others, she may have gone under the cover of darkness.
A little bit of Belgium.
A little bit. Oh, that's awesome. Carol spends many extra hours planning and working with her students, establishing strong home-to-school connections, and has played a key role in the past years redesigning how world languages are taught in conjunction with her fellow department members. 39 years, Carol gets ready to. My father said, son, your mother and I don't know how we ever had time for work. There's so much to do in retirement. I certainly hope that you find it to be all that you want, both of you. Tonight, Carol Smart, retiring from the high school, our French teacher of 39 years. Thank you. So, Pat, will you help me?
Yes. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to go over. That's Madame's, and
That's Madame. Then,
that's Jen's.
so, would you both join me? Just for a moment. This is the hard part. I'm sure this is the part you love. Here, I'll have Jan stand first. Listen, congratulations and thank you. I will, in fact. She's at home watching. I think my kids have so much fun watching this stuff. Daddy, do you know what you said? Something about the camera adding 85 pounds.
Thank you.
Only to me. Only to me, sorry.
We're going now.
So, Jan, tell us, say anything you like to the board. To tell them how badly I burned the cookies. I don't know
you
what
didn't burn any
this is.
Amazing, supportive community. I am definitely leaving with a world of memories of my inspiring children and leaving a piece of my heart here in Newmarket.
Oh, hey.
Definitely.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Madame,
Retiring with mixed feelings.
give us a
Yeah,
lesson.
I'm-
You guys, I should have had you guys prepare units. This would be
Yeah,
good
I don't have to
fun. We
prepare
could
any
learn.
minutes. So, my heart is always going to be here, and will never be anyplace else. So hopefully next year I get to go back in a little bit and continue to work with my two mentees over there and continue maybe to do some subbing and stuff. But I'm not giving up wholeheartedly.
Neither am I.
We're so thankful to
You
both
have
of
to
you.
drag us out of the line.
Yeah.
They threatened to do that with me already. Hey, listen, and I've only been here a couple of years. We really appreciate this. There's a quick, a small gift from the district. Stick around for just a couple of minutes, though. We have one more, and then, like I said, the bubbly we'll do off camera, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so
Please.
much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna grab my notes. Pat Valentine was hired in 1973 as a third grade teacher. Fifth grade teacher. Were we upstairs, was that the fifth grade classroom? Or was that when we stood in your office and you pointed down, or at that office, that classroom, you said,
Superintendent's office is my classroom.
was your classroom? She's taught at 3 sites, the junior, senior high school, the town hall, here once known as St. Mary's, and at the elementary school in the current building. Taught the first 6th grade class to go to the junior, senior high school before, when it became the junior, senior high school. Was the first classroom teacher to have her classroom in a portable. Sounds like a lot of fun. I bet it didn't have air conditioning back then.
No,
That's
it did not.
That's the only draw for a portable now.
No. Had a tile floor, too.
Back then, there was a co-teaching model. She worked with a grade 5 case manager and students all in that room. Pat has chaired our professional development committee for so many years. At the state level, she served for 6 years on the professional standards board, which is tough duty, but also very important duty in the state of New Hampshire for our educational community. She left the classroom to become the curriculum coordinator for the Newmarket School District, and has served as the Director of Curriculum Instruction for a number of years. In this last year, she has been absolutely essential and instrumental to us in the role that we now call Assistant to the Superintendent, serving essentially as the acting administrator and district leader to coordinate the needs of our administrative staff in serving our school community and being caught in a very challenging role as the liaison between the interim superintendent leaving us and a newly hired superintendent joining us July 1st. And in that role, she has helped organize and lead our search for the new superintendent, and subsequent to that, the new principal at the junior senior high school, and has helped her team of administrators with filling all of the vacancies that we have as we have shuffled the deck, found great resources within, and have found great resources from without to join us here in the Newmarket School District. June 30th is coming, and Pat Valentine is retiring after 38 years of service to the Newmarket School District, and it has been genuinely a pleasure to have somebody that can help put together all the notes and make it look like we know what we're doing as often as we do, at least I. And so I offer special thanks to Pat for all of the special effort that she puts in to help make sure that we can pull this off. So,
Nate, can I add to that?
please.
Pat's been a huge help on the facilities thing as we've gone on here in the last 6 or 7 months. I have a long drive into work in the morning, and I'll often call Pat and give a stream of consciousness, half an hour long. Did we cover this? Did we do that? And she's always been great answering calls and coming up with things. I don't know what the term is, old school or professional or whatever it is, but integrity, all of that stuff, Pat. I mean, she gets the job done, and that's I can't tell you how much I appreciate that just in the short time I've worked with you, Pat. That's all I can add, but
It's a warm heart as well, Pat. Just someone who, as a relatively new person in the whole process, I had to learn books and volumes of things in a short period of time, and you have helped me immeasurably in that, and just knowing that you were there and your dedication to the district and the students is laudable, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to have worked with you.
And I was lucky that I had you in second grade. I didn't. My child did.
I'm not that old.
Not that old. And so,
Be careful.
so I've been working with her for a while. She helped us all through elementary school, so that was wonderful. And then full-time kindergarten. There were 9 angry women and Pat. And we did it. And that was just the biggest relief for all of us. And I've never seen somebody work so hard to help these women gather their thoughts and put them together so we didn't sound like 9 angry women. So we always appreciate that every time somebody drops a kid off at kindergarten, Pat. Ooh, yeah.
It was there.
Someday they're gonna write a book about the the Newmarket School Board over the past year. And well on prior to that, which I was not a part of. And I've been a part of a lot of odd business situations and odd organization changes and in my entire career. And I've had a few sleepless nights since coming on this board. A lot of them, I guess, about who's taking care of what and what is it that isn't being done because we didn't have the leadership we needed for quite a period of time. And the search committee got a lot of accolades for bringing Meredith on board, and I think they deserve it. But I got to tell you, Pat held us together. And it was the follow-up, it was the, did you do this, did you do that? She's coming down at 3 o'clock, and I'm not quite sure we would have been able to latch on to Meredith had Pat not
Thank you.
led us in that effort.
I think you would have found it.
I don't-
Someone needs to just keep you going in the right
Yeah,
direction.
well, that's what my mother and wife say.
Yeah,
right?
a little pushy every now and then, but it gets done.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Hey, my favorite is when I call up, like you said, stream of consciousness, and I finally come to the point, and I ask Pat the question. And she says, well, Nathan? And then there's a long pause. And in most cases, I find the answer in that pause. And I just say, oh, you're right, Pat. I'm not sure what she thinks at that point, but she always seems to be able to help drive me to that with just a, well, Nathan?
And you know what I'm talking about.
I
It
do,
works.
and it does work.
Yeah, it does.
Hey, we are blessed to have had 189 years of the folks that are retiring this year, and we hope that they are truly blessed in their retirement. We're going to recess now for as long as it takes for that bubbly and celebrate and say hi personally to all these folks, and then we'll be right back.
She's like, I'm not doing it. You're gonna do it? And yeah. I was like, let's go. And I think about that. Thank you for your long service.
It's wonderful.
Congratulations.
You have to let us know what that is.
I hope you're ready.
I'm going back.
Are you guys gonna do this? We're filming either August 1st or there. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. That was so much. So here's the deal.
It didn't work. And then I said, put my hands down on the ground, and then all of a sudden my hands started going. And then it mixed it good, so I put my hands through, and nothing came out of my mouth. And you only get one take. You just get one take. It works lined up. Nice color, all lined up. They're really well. You get half hour after you set up.
I know.
Because I have a house full,
Yeah,
and
why
so
were you
we're on
asking?
that. So we're on a half-hour schedule. So 4 a.m. every day. My clock.
Yes, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Year's coming up. We tried really hard for this year.
You retired?
I've been retired.
Oh, really?
I retired 5.5 years. But I went back and worked right out. Because I'm working off and on.
Thank you for all the life you touched many decades. Congratulations again.
I went there.
The
next.
Yep.
An easy transition after 8 o'clock when we're all like getting.
But it keeps the brain tough.
You got it.
That was fine.
I retired as the building inspector for Lincoln. Did all the commercial stuff, power plants. And then, once I retired from there, I've been filming in all the surrounding towns, including Newmarket. We're doing all the vacation.
Congratulations.
It'll be the right time, so everything will fall in. Congratulations. Thanks. You guys have watched TV for many decades. My staff's going to go to honor.
She'll be right back.
Yeah, you do.
It's on the menu. It's another one. So you guys can make us in. Love it. I got the idea. So just one of the other things.
Congratulations on getting I was going to say my stuff. What exit is yours?
Don't turn
Yeah, so I managed to get home. And home, and he said, "Well, stop for the next 2 days." Okay, so I was stopped for the next 2 days, and on Friday, I came up to my last week. He goes, "Stop in the office when you're so the kids go home." I said, "Okay." So he goes, I walked in, he said, "Would you sit down and eat?" Okay, and he said, "You're hired." He goes, "Here's the yes of you." And so, like, just like that. So I thought, well, now I'm going to office for 5 years, and 49 years later. And they get it, they're right. So I never pictured myself. And they know exactly where they are. You know, they have it all the better, right? It's had its ups and downs, but right now things are up and yeah, they are. We've been
So we'll try to get So my problem is transportation. So I talked to recruiter.
yeah, it's just so like I said, with next week.
We're gonna try to get together in the fall.
Absolutely, yeah. Because my grandson.
You know what I'm saying? Scanner one.
I
will too.
8-year-old.
I have one of those things to put out.
That's the plan.
It's not bad. It's
Axfell's back in Boston in November, and then we're back in New York. Nextfell's back in New York, so I was vice chair this year, and chair next year. Oh, yeah. So, I said I would never be chair. I was just going to serve my time on the board, you know, and then we had all those things that happened. So they said, we need somebody to step up as vice chair. And so I said to Charlie, I wouldn't be doing this. I couldn't do it. So much work.
And the funds, well, and the bus. And those funds, then it has to be.
I've traveled quite a bit with the kids. I remember for a couple of years ago, I was doing a grade everybody, and everyone was looking out for the same kids. I remember getting off the plane, this giant with the kids, and had them 3 days, and I got to be on the bus to Montreal, and at the end of May, I was like, so, I can't imagine that. It was. It does.
All right, so guys.
So when we were in France, we did 20 side trip to Germany, side trip to Belgium, side trip into Luxembourg, side trip into Northern Italy.
Jen just takes it. Nice to meet you. I live next door. We're neighbors. So my neighbor and my boss talk differently.
Oh, I'm trying.
And it lasts. Hey, by the way,
Hey, yo.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it just does. I mean,
Like, how is Dawn's new job going? Now, where does she have to go?
Kingsborough.
Where is that?
It's like a mile and a half south of Pheasantly Mall in Nashua.
Okay.
It's like a 50-minute drive. It's kind of open traffic.
Everything else is good.
Like,
When I talk to my neighbor about my whack
she likes it.
So there is.
One thing to focus on. Yep. Doesn't have to drive into town 5 times a day and do the PTA. It is a long way to drive. Just on a helicopter. Yeah, that's another 5 minutes. They started out with a fake patio. Put up this like line, and then the geese learned to like do the, what do they call it, underneath the line, the party dance.
Oh, limbo.
Limbo. Now they're putting up like a massive fence.
With more coyotes. They bought more coyotes.
Yeah. Let's just figure it out. Still on, so delicious.
We thank you so much for sharing tonight with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safely and healthy and happy and, wow, 189 years.
And you know,
Founding of our nation.
one of the things they're seeing now too, that people don't stay at their jobs. And
Right.
one thing we do have in Newmarket, they like to stay. They like our kids.
Thanks, Jan. At this point in the meeting, I would open the floor to public comment. If there are folks among us who would like to share comments.
I think they left Nathan.
Hearing none, we have had our student report. Let's move on to the items for discussion and knock down a couple of these things. Ree Cooper was here earlier. Ree represents Link Together. Link Together rents space at the Newmarket Elementary School for their program. A year ago, we talked to Ree, and they expanded from 60 to 90 children in their program and asked us to pick up a classroom. And so we rewrote their lease for that. Earlier this year, Great Bay Kids announced that they'd not be servicing school-age kids. The big impact there moving forward is kindergarten for Newmarket, not just kindergarten, but that's a big impact. And they're changing their focus. And so there's a population in Newmarket that wants to serve and needs to be served that Great Bay Kids was serving. So linked together, Ree Cooper and that board are moving forward. They'd like to expand by another 21 children to a licensure of 111 kids, and they need another classroom. So she has been through the process and has spoken with Sean Pine and talked about securing space over there. And the SAU office has pulled together a revised lease, and they have increased the monthly rent from $200 to $275. And so what is before, this isn't a moneymaker for the district, but it seeks to cover some custodial costs, and so that program is looking for us to accept, because it's a rental of our facilities, accept the lease that's proposed. The lease that is before, the lease that I have here, I'm going to give back to Pat. There's just one little clause that Dr. Martin and I had talked to Ree about 6 months ago or whatever, which was the agency has a van, and they park the van now at the school district, or in the school on school property. They used to park it somewhere else, and they lost the opportunity. And so she was really concerned, and we had agreed that we could add that to the lease, that we would make space available so that they could park the van with reasonable expectation that they'll share information with us so that when we have to do snow removal, they'll get it out of the way. And if we're doing construction or something else, that they'll move it and we'll work together. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize a 2-year lease from September of 16, from July 1 of 16 through 2018 for the classrooms that they need at $275 a month.
So moved.
Second.
I told Ree that I thought I could encapsulate that. Did I leave anything else? Does that make enough sense to folks?
It's such an important part.
Yeah.
It's so important for our community that it's nice that we can offer it I wish we could do it for free, but obviously with custodial and
It's good that they continue to offer something against that. Motion from Elizabeth McKinney. All right, then I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Zink. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. Linda Hopi was just with us. I laughed when I said she could go before we talked about raising lunch prices. I told Linda I thought that I could probably do this justice too. I won't take you through the 35 pages that was included in our packet, but here's the gist. Uncle Sam, the USDA, through this National School Lunch Program, reimburses us for free meals and for reduced price meals through an application process. Families can gain access to free meals or reduced price meals because of income levels. Uncle Sam reimburses us at a rate beyond what we pay locally for the same meal. This year, Uncle Sam is reimbursing us at $2.78. And so right now, at the elementary school, we're at $2.40, and at the high school, we're at $2.70. Some handful of years ago, the laws were changed and said that districts had to start making an effort to grow to meet the same level of reimbursement with local pricing that Uncle Sam is reimbursing us at. They have different caveats, which is what's in that dense packet, which says that you're held harmless, you don't have to increase it more than 10 cents in a year, and the rate of increase ought to be equal to a calculation that includes a cost of living, a CPI adjustment, plus an underlying escalator to try to catch up. And so what this exercise was that she shared is what they have to go through every year as they apply for the program. What she proposes for next year as a result of that analysis is that the elementary price of $2.40 will need to increase to $2.50, and the price at the junior senior high of $2.70 will have to increase to $2.75. So that's really out of her hands. That's a regulatory step, and she's reflecting what's in the analysis that's been done. So I seek a motion. No changes being made to the underlying prices right now of breakfasts at either building, but I would seek a motion to set the local lunch price at the elementary at $2.50 and at the junior senior high at $2.75 for the 16-17 school year.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions? I mean, even 5 cents is money, and it's real money when you do it for 3 kids for 180 school days. And I know that Linda and her team knows that. So they're really only reflecting that which they're being driven to do by the policy, by the regulations. Hearing nothing else, I have a motion from Mr. Kennison, a second from Ms. McKinney to set those lunch prices for 16-17. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. I haven't been able to pull together sufficient information from the business office of late but we're going to have to talk about maybe a quick meeting one more time between now and 2:30. There's a couple of things we've talked about, and I need for us to know where we're landing in terms of the operating surplus. We've got the funding of the security project, which was really important to us. We said we would do, and we'd find a way, but we said we would do that through a combination of today's dollars, tomorrow's operating budget where we might be able to find savings, and the technology trust fund if need be, because some dollars could come out of that we could talk about replenishing at another ballot, from fund balance in another cycle. So that's one of the things that plays into that is it could be our impact fees. We had wavered on whether we would ultimately request a reimbursement for the work that we did on the Carpenter property or not. And so we need to talk about that and see how that plays in. So all of that, we'll be looking for some guidance from the business administrator before the end of June. So I don't have a lot of information on that, but I think we have to, in the back of our minds, try to talk about what hopefully can be a 30-minute special session sometime between now and the end of the year, so we could come together, nail some of this stuff down, know where we're at, and make a couple of motions or take a couple of votes to authorize using this and using this, et cetera. So I put district financial report on the agenda, but that's, we don't have one to work with right now, so we're going to swing it.
And it's definitely crucial, because when we were talking about the whole security piece, one of the caveats in that whole thing was having that report come to us to say, this is the way we're going to tangibly do this. And so
Right.
I think it's, as you said, paramount that we have that.
And we've had this on the agenda how many times?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it since we took that vote in May. So, we didn't have a meeting June 2nd because, among other things, we were going to take some time so that information could be well-known. But I'm sure that we'll have some insight into it here in the next week or so.
Might I suggest that somebody, and I'm not sure who somebody is, put together specific items to be reported on, and that before we have that meeting, we receive that report.
Yeah.
My concern is we have a meeting and all we do is develop more questions.
Right.
So I don't know if that's something you could do, Nate, or.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now, I've got a cheat sheet, if you want to call it. I've got a list of, we need to find this money, we need to find these things. What it really lays down on is, how did we finish the year in terms of, or how are we going to finish the year? The challenge is today is what, 16 June? By 16 June, almost every expenditure that you could conceivably have between now and 30 June ought to be well-known and documented. I mean, you know what you're going to spend money on between now and June 30th. Shouldn't be any surprises right now, stem to stern. So somewhere here, right away, there ought to be a document that says you've got a fund balance of 400 or 5 or 3 or 2 because special ed did this and we didn't expect we had to pay this, and all of that should flesh its way out. So I'll put together the list of what we need to figure out and do and where we can best fund it from. And we had a specimen of that a month ago, but some of the questions that couldn't have been answered then were really driven by what will we have left. So I'll put that together and make sure that the financial report that matches it with answers comes out so that we have a chance to look at that before we sit down. That way when we're sitting down, we're really just saying, yep, fait accompli, this is this and this will be this, and we take the votes.
And I guess the other thing I've been thinking about is Meredith's going to be coming here July 1st in her official capacity. The business manager's going to be leaving on June 30th. And that means that office is going to be vacant on the new superintendent's date of arrival. I think the board needs to talk about what we do to make sure that doesn't happen.
I expect tonight at some point we were going to, please, have some conversation about the direction the board wants to go in, so.
So I could just update that I met with folks in the business office last week, and one of the topics of discussion was that very list you were just referencing in terms of where we are at the end of the year, and I know
Yeah.
that Christine is working on that. I also know that, yes, we're certainly, July 1 is approaching, but we went through sort of an assessment of where are we with end of year closing, sort of roll over into the upcoming budget year, where are we with purchase orders, setting me up in software to be able to do approvals in the short-term basis. So I feel pretty comfortable that we're going to be able to move into the summer between the other folks in the business office, Teresa and Rachel, and with Christine's support in sort of closing out as she wraps up her year, that we'll be able to start the summer in pretty good shape. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't feel comfortable with that, but we had a very frank discussion about what needs to be accomplished, setting up new employees, for example. Open enrollment is just winding down. So I feel like we're going to be okay to start July and probably into August, and if we need to be into September. But certainly that's a discussion with the board as well. But I'm not concerned, and our discussion was if we need to bring on some assistance, that we'll look at the opportunities to do that.
Great. That certainly provides all the comfort I need.
So yeah, we'll take a swing. I mean, we need some votes before the end of June, so I wanted to make sure that I kind of sensitized us to the fact that it shouldn't have to be a long meeting, and I'm not looking to dodge transparency. We can do it here, we can do it upstairs. We get a posted meeting, but we just need to pull one together and make sure we do it so that we can formalize some decisions before 30 June and the closing of the year, so. Hey, so from continuing items, we want to talk briefly about communications, I guess. Newsletter went out.
The newsletter went out today, with the facilities update, a mention of the retiring staff members and the high school graduates. So it was sort of a celebratory issue, and not much more to say.
How about facilities?
Got a lot
Yeah.
to report on. I'll make it quick, though. We had a last of our 4 public sessions tonight on the ed specs. I think we had 42 people there tonight, as I counted out the crowd. It was probably the biggest attendance we've had at one of those. But it's been invaluable. I mean, we've all written the questions down and gotten feedback, and it's sort of a model. So when we are done our due diligence and are rolling out options for the public to consider, we kind of have a little experience of it going into September. So it feels good. Gotten good feedback, good questions. You learn a lot from those things. So that was great, and thanks for everybody who attended, including everybody on the facilities committee and principals. And it's a lot of work to put those things together, Pat, for coordinating. And so that was great. Next, was it, what's the last day of school? The 22nd, the Banwell firm is going to meet with the staffs of both schools to go over the draft education specs. The staff's going to get a preliminary view of drawings that the facility committee will see later that night. And so that's good to sort of close the loop, at least on this phase of the thing, of the analysis with the staff, so they can go out in the summer knowing what we've done, and we'll meet with them again. And when we come back in September, as we get stuff done over the summer. We had a facility committee meeting on Tuesday, and we went over several things. One we'll talk about in a second was retaining a construction manager. Construction managers are at least initially, they help you with cost estimating, help you with determining if a particular design makes sense from a build point of view. So we'll talk in a second about a request for a proposal for that. But the other thing, it occurred to me a few weeks ago, I mean, we have been pushing hard and moving along on the facilities committee. We've been sprinting right along, but I was looking at the backward schedule from bond vote to now that Banwell put together. It just occurred to me that given the nature of things, everything takes twice as long as you think they will. We got to crank it up, and so that's what we did. And we talked about some other things to accomplish during the summer. We talked about subgroups that do those things, studying the athletic fields to make sure we have our arms around that, among other things, talking about the soft costs, making sure we have our arms around that analysis. The short of it is we're going to ramp it up, because I don't want to run into a situation come fall where we're, delayed. The idea is to get the design proposals to the public in September, and so we have adequate time to put it together and then get the word out. So I think that's absolutely doable. The Banwell team has been great in moving this thing along. Those are the major points. Just a couple of things we need to look at tonight. The Banwell firm helped us with a request for proposals for construction managers. And the good thing about them is they've worked with just about every one of these firms that are on their list. And so we have some confidence going in that, we've got good candidates. I mean, they've had actual experience with that, which you can't substitute. And Chris added a name to the list, and Mark Fillion, our resident civil engineer on the facilities committee, added a name. So the idea is to get this out probably this week to request for proposals. The proposals will be due in on June 30th. There's going to be a site visit, a mandatory site visit for these participants before them. Then we will go through and a formal process of looking at the submissions and narrowing them down probably to 2 or 3 firms, have those firms in for interviews. And I think the goal was, I think the board has a meeting on July 14th. If
The tentative, but if everybody's agreeable.
if that's right.
Or 14th or 21st? 21st, I put.
21st?
We'll talk.
Okay. Well, at least we could do it by the 14th if at the board's pleasure. We could also do it on the 21st. But this, we want to get them on board. as soon as we can. So that's an aggressive schedule, but it's very doable, because it essentially follows the model we use for the architect, and we can actually use a lot of the, the questions and the score sheets adapted for a construction manager for that. So that's one thing. I didn't know if we needed a motion on this, but I think maybe it'd be wise to do so.
I think it certainly could carry. So that,
Yeah.
I would say from my experience, see if this connects or drives with where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we don't have a project. We are proposing, we're doing our homework so we could propose a project. A construction management partner is someone who can help with the estimating to help drive us to the best possible numbers in terms of estimating. So they'll work with the team, with the architects, to take the vision and help make it budgetary.
Yep.
So we have a sense of what it would reasonably cost on the street.
Right.
Assuming we get a project passed, the hope would be that we've had a good enough experience with them that we would retain them as the construction management firm, the builder, to actually work us through the construction phase. And so part of what they're proposing is not just their estimating skill set, but their skill set to help us deliver, for instance, if it were renovation in place while we're educating in the same space, because that's an important skill.
Right.
That
Phasing.
some firms have better than others, et cetera. And so all of that, so the idea is that we're pulling this together, not for today, but for today and tomorrow. And obviously, if you have a bad experience for whatever reason, you can create an out so that you can go find another partner, but, and there would likely be some fee for their service to help us get to the ballot. And if it fails, for instance, if we were to propose a project and it fails, we'll still have some small cost, but it certainly would be different, wouldn't be what they would charge us as the construction management firm in a building project, right? So,
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
that's, just to make sure that that's how I've been experienced with the CM, especially at this point in the game, and I think that's what I saw and what I read in the RFP. So, Mike's made a motion to advance this RFP and move forward to find a construction management partner. Is there a second?
I second.
Any more discussion, thoughts, questions? It was a great document. I'm really pleased. I'm glad we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Hearing no other discussion, then on a motion from Mike Kennison, a second from Ms. Shelton, to move forward with this RFP for a construction management partner. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? We're unanimous, and best wishes. Good luck. I hope we get a good response. It's a good list that we put together, so.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. The other thing is the AIA standard contract for the Banwell firm, which it hasn't been, I guess, signed yet. Our lawyers in the Banwell firm went back and forth a little bit. You may recall that we put this official signing on hold pending what we might do in March in terms of a warrant article for fees. But it's more of a formality now. The board's seen the language and the terms, but I think we need a formal motion to approve it so we can get it signed. And then, put that to rest.
So we had a chance to, I think this had been handed out to us. I'm looking for one page. There you go, pre-bond, one right there, one of the questions, how have we made out? One of the questions that we had was to try to clarify that in phase one, we were contracting billable hourly up to 100,000, and the architect will solicit proposals and move us forward with structural, MEP, evaluations. The phrase that was used was allowances for 10,000 for an MEP study and 10,000 for an MEP and 10,000 for structural.
Mhm.
Is that a part of the 100 or in addition to the 100 when it said
I
allowances?
understand it's part of the 100.
It's included in the 100,
Yeah.
okay. That was we had that, I know we had wondered about that.
The other thing on that same item, we had wondered, are there other professionals that will need to be subcontracted to, at this point? And if there are they included in here? Because we weren't sure, for example, 21E studies or site studies and so forth? Are those going to be needed? And if they are they included?
The civil engineer is not included in here, and if you look up above, it's, it indicates that we would pay for that on our own, outside of this, and we'd also pay for the construction manager on our own. But having talked with a Banwell firm, and they're giving an estimate for this sort of pre-bond work we would need, it would all fall within the amount that we've allocated.
The 150?
Yep.
Okay.
And as Nate alluded to, firms like a construction management firm understand that, you know, they make their money on the back end of these things, and that if it doesn't get approved,
Okay.
and that, you know, a lot of towns can't afford to pay the full amount that they would pay for their services up front. Banwell's doing more than they're going to make on the front end in terms of work. So that's sort of the idea, and that's why, you know.
I can't imagine, I won't speak for anybody in the RFP for our CM, but in a failed vote in another community, I just authorized payment of $12,000 to the CM for all the work they did pre-bond, to get us to the vote. All the estimating work, all the meetings, all the visits. It was a failed vote, so that would have been $0 and rolled into the project had we been approved. So I don't think we're talking, with the CM, for instance, there'll be some language, but it's not huge dollars on a failure.
And it really wasn't the focus. The focus was on, for example, let's say they're going
Site,
to,
yeah.
you're going to hire a surveyor to come in and survey wetlands. You're going to hire an environmental scientist to determine what those wetlands are. My thought is they probably would not want to wait to be paid, and I just want to make sure that the study isn't shortchanged because we didn't think about those ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, all I can go back to is what our architect said, that all of the work that
All of the
work-
pre-bond was gonna be about 150. They
Yeah,
thought we'd be
or
able to get in with that.
there or less.
Okay.
But the other thing of note here is the Phase 2 fee of 7%.
Yeah.
Of construction costs. That's actually really good
Oh, yeah.
It's a great
compared to
price.
what I've seen, you know,
Yep.
and researched. And it also, you know, sometimes they originally had it in here for, it was a bifurcated fee. It was like, it was a lower fee for building new, because it's just easier to build new, and a higher fee for renovating. I said, you know, given what we're contemplating, how are we ever going to keep track of that? You know, what's new versus renovating? You know, it's you know, so let's compromise on a straight percentage, and I think that's a
a good
really
number.
favorable number.
And what you're looking for anyway is quality. I mean, that number is almost unimportant. You want whatever the percentage is to provide really superior quality, and
And
that's
so far, we're really seeing.
Yeah.
We're really seeing people that are working well with us as a team and seem to be communicating and listening effectively with us as a community, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to accept the amended document in front of us as a contract between the district and Banwell Architect to continue to move us towards pre-bond and thereafter if we're successful.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? When they're ready, let me know. I'll sign it.
Okay.
With a vote, we have hearing no other conversation, we have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Ms. Shelton to approve this contract with Banwell. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. Nicely done and negotiated, thank you. Any report or anything else on the joint board council conversation?
Just a quick review and a look at what we're getting ready to do. The town council and the school board met several weeks ago, and it was determined that the leadership in terms of evaluating the town and the school joining together to supply shared services were going to be put in the laps of the school superintendent and the town administrator, and they're going to get back to us in August identifying the issues that they believe to be important, and just an overall assessment. We've got a couple of relatively urgent issues facing us now. One is, particularly on the school side, our facilities person. Time's creeping away, and we've got some big decisions to make before winter on systems and so forth. So we're hopeful that that August date will provide us enough time to prepare us. We've also got an opening as a business manager in the school, and I think Meredith is looking at that as well. On Monday, Kim and I and Tony Weinstein and Dale Pike will be going to Cape Elizabeth, Meredith's ex-home, who has aligned its shared services in a model that might well be attractive to us. So we're going to go up there as students on Monday and learn what we can learn. And this committee, the four of us, Kim and I and Dale and Tony, will be reporting to the boards each session about where we are on shared services.
Thanks to Meredith for coordinating the opportunity for us to meet with several people in town and making the most of that visit on Monday. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Under policy, we have some policies to be reviewed. The first in the packet is the investment policy. New Hampshire state law directs that the investment policy will be reviewed in each governmental unit on an annual basis. It's the first thing our auditors will ask, and so we put it on the agenda so that we could contemplate the investment policy. It's policy DFA, and it speaks to the objectives of investment and the standards of care that will be exercised. I think it's important to note that we have trust funds. Those are in the hands of and are managed by the trustees of trust funds of the town of Newmarket. Beyond that, the only dollars that we have are our operating dollars, and so there's not a lot of investment that goes on. When this policy plays in, for instance, for a school, might be when you, for instance, do a bonding for a project, and you sell the bonds and end up with a given amount of money that is going to be spent over the course of a year or two of a capital project. But you sell the bonds and have the money at the beginning of the project and need to invest them for the short period. That's when a policy like investment would play in, because I think, I could be wrong, but I'm quite sure that our operating cash is essentially a liquid asset. It's cash. It's not invested in CDs or repurchase agreements or anything like that. So we don't exercise investment as a policy very often. Any questions or thoughts about the investment policy? Hearing none, then it will be recorded as having been reviewed by the board at this meeting. It was brought to our attention that the wellness policy, JLCF, got a second reading, but not a final vote back in March. On the second page of our policy, there's a 3-paragraph or 4-paragraph non-discrimination statement that, in reflecting new federal mandates, needed to be added to this policy. I can tell you that the policy came about initially through the reauthorization of the WIC Act, the WIC Reauthorization Act. Women, infants, and children, and having a wellness policy became a mandatory condition. And so now we're simply adding that non-discrimination statement to it. I'd seek a motion to accept or adopt, I would say, the revised wellness policy, JLCF.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, then, on a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Zink, all those in favor of adopting the JLCF policy as revised, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. going to ask Jean Parsons, our Director of Student Services, to join us, if you would. Talk to you a little bit about this EEAA, video and audio surveillance on school property, which really was driven by House Bill 507 in the last session, and Chartered Law 71 is on the books now.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was originally passed last year, and it was done in an effort to ensure student and staff privacy, and I think it was well-intentioned, but initially when it was passed, it had a real problem with it, because sometimes in school, we have the opportunity or the need to do some videotaping in special education. We do video modeling for some of our students who have disabilities, who do very well when they see something enacted before they have to do it themselves. We also use videoing for other educational purposes that are in student IEPs. And the law has been revised. The governor just recently signed it into law, so that now it's taken care of the fact that that when a student has an individual education plan that requires the use of video surveillance, video or audio taping, that's okay to do it. We don't need to get any particular special permission. What the law does say is that outside of that there can be no school record, record in any way a school classroom for any purpose, especially for the teacher evaluations without school board approval after a public hearing and without written consent of the teacher and the parent or legal guardian of each affected student. It's been changed from any purpose to the purpose of teacher evaluations, and before it was every single purpose under the sun, so that even an evaluator going into the classroom to try to take some data and have an artifact left over that they could post in the teacher's evaluation file, now we can do that. We still need to get the teacher's permission, but we can do it. In the past, we were not allowed to do it under any purpose, under any circumstances. So this is a good change, and it just requires that we'll have to make sure we have permission, and if we don't have permission from individual students, then they're excluded from the recording. It's not a big deal, but we do have to have a hearing, and the hearing involves having this posted as being on the discussion. You've already done that. And we have to open it up for any comments from the public. It only has to be done one time and never again. So once we do that tonight, we'll be all set. Any questions?
So if you read the first sentence of the policy, the board authorizes the use of video and/or audio on district property, et cetera, et cetera. If you read the new paragraph that follows it, and Jean just described that, recording equipment, et cetera, only after school board approval following a public hearing. So I think operationally what we are suggesting is, in a moment, we're going to open for a public hearing, and then have, following the public hearing and any public input, we can adopt this policy. And when the policy is adopted, we will have satisfied both conditions. The policy says the board authorizes, and we will have had a public hearing. From that point forward, it'll be the responsibility of the administration to ensure that, as Jean just said, student and staff permission are secured before recording in the classroom. So, any questions before we move to a public hearing?
Maybe it was mentioned, but what would we? Why would we need this?
Well, it's just required. It gives the staff the opportunity, the teachers, administrators who want to do an evaluation of a teacher, to be able to include that in a teacher's portfolio. It also allows us to do any kind of recording in the classroom with the permission of the people involved. And sometimes we do need to be able to video. We used to video record all the time. We would have just a blanket policy in the beginning of the year. The handbooks went home and there was a note in it, do you agree to let your student be videotaped if it's for the purposes of education, and it won't be used for any public reason. And parents either sign that or they don't, and then during the school year, staff is careful not to have those students in any publications who have not had that consent granted. The difference with this regulation is now we have to get permission every single time, and it has to be written permission. We can't use that one blanket permission. And We may not have to do this very often, but we can't do any recording unless we have permission to do it.
I'm just, yeah.
It's
maybe
kind of a no big deal.
Okay. I mean, I just didn't know how you did evaluations of teachers if you went there and physically observed them. Would the tape somehow, would that be for, like, improvement?
Yeah, well, for example, it would be, we were looking at a piece of software a few years ago that we have never actually used that involved using iPads to go through the classroom, taking pictures or doing videos of what we saw, that we could use it as a teaching tool later on to be able to sit down with a staff member and say, this is what I observed. Let's talk about how this was handled. How would you like to do it? Whatever. It gives us the opportunity to use that kind of a tool. The law, when it was first put in here, they didn't think well about the consequences. They literally took away from us the right to do any recording in the classroom of any kind. And now it's been modified so that it reflects the IEP provisions, and it also allows us to do tape recording in the classroom as long as we have permission.
You need permission from not only the parents, but you're going to need permission from those being, like, the
Every
teachers.
single student.
Right.
The teachers.
The teachers
Oh,
as
the
well.
teacher, exactly, yes.
Absolutely.
The biggest part of what drove this.
Yeah.
The biggest part of what drove this is the teacher's permission, but also the students, too, that we have, every single parent would have to sign consent. So we may or may not use it a lot, but I think it's something that, it's important for us to have that option.
The reason why I'm asking all these questions is because I have experience with New Hampshire's,
Wiretap.
well, recording statute, which is pretty severe if you mess it up. I mean, it's criminal penalties and all of that, so you kind of want everything documented, and, the whole deal.
So we have two policies, just that and then this is audio video on school property. We even have one, audio and video surveillance on school buses.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be posted in the bus and included in the handbook, and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah.
Meredith, you want to help?
Yeah, I was just going to add, a couple applications. It's fairly common practice in student teaching to videotape your practice as well as in a self-evaluation piece. So I, as a teacher, might want to record my own practice to observe how am I doing with this particular group of students, or when I'm, conducting a lesson in a particular area. And again, I would need permission of all the students in my classroom to do that. The other application that's much more common these days, because of technology, thankfully, is students who aren't able to be in the classroom. So we can transmit a recording of what's happening in the classroom or the notes or the lecture, and be able to upload that and share that with students as well.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but how is this executed on a ground level? Who makes sure that I've got all the permissions and they match up with this person, and who does that?
It's a building administrator responsibility, and
Okay.
then it gets delegated depending on the needs. But I know, in my current district, it's fairly common practice. We send out at the beginning of the year a parental permission that sort of identifies, can they be recorded in the classroom? Can it be used for educational purposes, meaning within the school setting? Could it be posted to a website? So we try to cover a lot of that up front so that we already know for a given classroom what's available. And then otherwise, student teachers have to document that for their practice. They have to take those signed permission slips to the administrator and the cooperating teacher and their program supervisor in order to justify that piece as well.
And if you have any 18-year-olds too,
They have to give their own consent.
Yeah, we don't need parental consent for the 18-year-olds.
But they need theirs.
But
we need theirs.
The
We
lucky,
need
the
theirs,
lucky
yes.
thing is that what we found, because some districts are ahead of us in doing this, and what we found is that we end up being able to govern by exception, because you just have to know the 7 kids and the 3 staff members who can't be in the video. And it's kind of like, there's a list of peanut allergies and there's a list of no camera, because
Right.
really that's been the success we've had, is that most are pretty agreeable to it.
Yeah, there are occasions too where you might be inviting the media in for a particular project or event that you're hosting in your schools. And again, you want to make sure that before children are captured on camera or anything is released, that you've documented
Well,
those.
we had, at our meeting earlier tonight, somewhere there, a gentleman had I thought, a good idea on its face of, sort of videoing school in session and how it actually functions and relative to what our facilities needs are. And I just sort of, I saw all sorts of problems with that. It was a good idea on its face. I mean, the idea of showing the needs is great, but It's a thorny thing.
Because we've done it, we did a walkthrough without children in the building. But again, didn't we do one where there were kids in the hallway too?
Does that mean if there's a band concert, you can't videotape the band concert?
No, that doesn't fall under, this ruling talks about videoing in the classroom. So
Only.
technically,
Not a public
outside,
forum, not a public
even if you have, there's been interpretations that if you're outside doing gym, that's not a classroom and that's okay. Track meets, cross-country meets, sporting events, musical productions in the cafeteria or the gym would not fall under this.
We tested a unit here a couple months ago where we sat kind of in the round around a table, staff and the teacher and the students, and this device they put in the middle of the table, it's kind of like a speakerphone, but it was a camera, it was a recording device, and it captured the speaker. And it would move around the room automatically and capture, we had to take turns, or you couldn't 5 people speak at once, but this thing, and it captured a video and with audio of the entire classroom session, the entire, all of that, the dialogue, everything the teacher did lead up. That you'd have to have this permission, but that was such a great tool, and I think the biggest application was for the 3 students who weren't in the room at the time, they can not participate, they can go back and live through that reality, sitting and watching their peers and the teacher, and it's things like that they're doing, and the whole flipped classroom now, where you videotape instruction and then let kids watch that at home at night, and then come back and practice during the day instead of doing homework at night, you do homework during the day, kind of.
This really is going off in the weeds, but let's
This
say
is,
let's
yeah.
say you're doing
That's okay.
it. It's kind of cool weeds.
It's the stuff we should be talking about, so keep going.
Two of the 20 kids that are involved in the class don't want to do it.
That's
Do you
hard.
boot them? You boot them,
You'd have to do something.
so you send them out, and they can't listen to the lecture.
Well, they could listen to it, but they couldn't participate in it. They'd have to be out of the view of the camera. So if the camera was what Nate described, and it's going to be going in a circle, you'd have to boot them out of the room, because that would cover the whole room. But if you could set the camera up that it was at an angle that the children could be sitting behind it, then they could stay.
The law will have to catch up to the new technologies.
Yeah.
That's a little ahead.
We had a speech and language pathologist who came, and I had tried to bring this up earlier, but it never got to you. Recently, one of our speech and language pathologists who is working with students on the autism spectrum, but also with all our students on social thinking skills and social communication skills and, just really good social language, how to use it, has a program that we bought with some grant funds that she wanted to use in the classroom, and it involves videotaping, and I had to tell her no, because we hadn't done this yet. So it's something that we'll do next year. For sure, if you approve it, and it has a lot of value for kids to see themselves and to realize how they sound and how they're speaking to somebody. It can be a wonderful tool, and also for our children on the spectrum who are children with high anxiety. It gives us the opportunity to video something before it happens, so that they can practice. They can either see a practice run or see another class do it, so that they would know what the activity was themselves before they went into it. It lowers anxiety, allows them to practice ahead of time, things like that.
Great. So, Jean, thank you. I would lead the board and this meeting into public hearing. And I would open a public hearing at 8:32 from this angle. Call it 8:32 p.m. This is a public hearing on revisions to policy EEAA, video and audio surveillance on school property of the Newmarket School Board. Revisions directed by passage of the 2015 House Bill 507, which became effective August 1st of 2015 as Chaptered Law 71. I would open the floor now to any public comments on revisions to this policy. We just had a whole bunch of great conversations. Going once, going twice. We're all here for only one person that doesn't have to be here, so great. Hearing nothing, I will close the public hearing at, what's that? Oh, yeah, that's true. That's, have to, is a strong phrase.
She's not a resident.
We close the public hearing at 8:33, and I would put it back to the board. I would put back to the board acceptance or adoption of the revisions to policy EEAA. I need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? On a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison to accept the revisions discussed tonight and heard at a public hearing this evening, policy EEAA, video and audio surveillance on school property. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Then we're unanimous. Thank you, folks. Gene, thank you for the help. Mike, thanks for the good questions. Under personnel, we lead off with resignation, school psychologist at the elementary school, Danielle Cullinane. Her letter is included in the packet. I seek a motion to accept her resignation.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Ms. Cullinane seeks a change in career path, and we appreciate the service to Newmarket. A motion from Mr. Zink, a second from Ms. McKinney. All those in favor of, not in favor, but accepting the resignation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. We had the opportunity in non-public to have certified administrative staff presented to us. The details of that were communicated in terms of salary and duration in the packet tonight. Those administrators and directors are listed with the expiration of the contracts before us. I think, to be clear, we have contracted separately with Mr. Andriski. We have contracted separately with Mr. Mazzone. Well, let me not even say that. To be clear, to be sure that those documented contracts have appropriately received public disclosure and a board vote, just in case there's something that doesn't show up in the minutes. Let's leave those names on. So what I'm looking for tonight is a motion to accept the nomination of all of these administrators and directors, consistent with the details that we talked about in our last meeting. There were, I believe, a couple of questions that we directed would be handed to the incoming superintendent to make a decision about how that should be handled. So how am I doing?
Good.
Can we act on this tonight so those people can actually have contracts in hand before June 30th?
Yes.
I seek a motion then to accept those nominations from Pat Ballantyne tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? For what it's worth, that list includes Christopher Andriski, Assistant Superintendent, Jason Carey, the Technology Operations Manager, Christina Cochran, Special Education Building Coordinator, Chris Mazzoni, Principal, Newmarket Junior Senior High School, Gene Parsons, Director of Student Services, Sean Pine, Principal, Newmarket Elementary School, Deborah Raffo, Assistant Principal at the Newmarket Elementary School, Linda Hopi, our Food Service Director, and Tom, I always stumble, Tom Pavlidis, Director of Guidance. On a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Zink to accept the nomination of these certified administrative staff for 2016-17. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. Yeah, I've been asked to offer up a couple of comments about the next. We're going to have a nomination tonight for a new assistant principal at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. There were a couple of comments offered up from the public, asking about the public nature of the process, asking about the board's involvement. I want to speak for just a moment, maybe most importantly, about the board's involvement. Remind everybody in the community that the school board has one employee, and that employee is the superintendent of schools. And without exception, all of the other employees of the school district are the employees of the superintendent and/or his or her designee. Right now, Pat Ballantyne acts with the authority of the superintendent as the superintendent's designee. And really, after the hire of a superintendent, the school board doesn't sit as a hiring agent for any other positions. State law directs a nomination and acceptance process, a two-part process by which we nominate and accept educators, in this case teachers, and by extension over the years, principals and assistant principals, and those who carry an educational certification. So assistant principals and the like. And so for most of those, it has been our local practice to have a board representative sit when we're hiring in the administrative ranks. But yeah, I think it would be an exception if the board had even a representative in the hiring or the evaluation, not evaluation, the interview and hiring of a teacher. We don't sit in that. Certainly, the superintendent brings us the nomination, and we accept or reject that nomination. And again, state law is set up that way so that the board can't go off and do its own hiring and firing, nor can the superintendent unilaterally hire and add to the staff without board approval. But it simply is our practice, and it's consistent with statute and our policy. So in this case, we had a board rep on the search for an assistant principal at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. That was Elizabeth McKinney. I'll let Ms. Ballantyne talk to the details after that, but I want to give comfort, if I can, to the public that this was a good process, consistent with our hiring process normally for, I guess, maybe I could say junior administrators in this case. We had a role, we had a representative, and we will hear the nomination and accept it or reject it tonight. But we don't go on site visits, and we don't sit in interviews as a board and do all of that. We do that with our employee, the superintendent, so.
This is a common structure, whether it's nonprofit,
Yep.
here, for-profit. I mean, you hire your CEO, and the CEO hires others. I mean, the board doesn't get involved in micromanaging that.
So if you guys thought that there was any other question or any other thing that we should add to that, I said I would try to offer some comfort or some information and clarification to the public that there was a process and there were a lot of people involved, and we really appreciate that. And they're listed here, by the way, on the nomination sheet, but I'll turn it back to Pat and ask her to explain where we come to this point and then nominate this individual.
I have to reiterate what Nathan has said. Having done this a couple of times this year already, the process is pretty clear, pretty open, pretty transparent. We do a good job of vetting the people that are eventually come to the board. We do phone calling, we do Google, we follow up on their references. And I think, once again, that process has worked very clearly for us here. It's not the same as hiring a superintendent. It's not the same as hiring a principal. It's, as Nate might have approved of, junior administrator. I think the process worked really well, and I'm very comfortable nominating this person. You have the paper in front of you. The person's name is Matthew Foster. He will take over as the assistant principal at Newmarket Junior Senior High School with your approval on July 1st.
Matthew won't mind at all, as a fellow Black Bear, me telling you that he graduated with a bachelor's of science in secondary ed from the University of Maine, the flagship school of the University of Maine system. Home of the Maine Black Bears. Go
That's
Black
it.
Bears.
Yep.
We have a nomination in front of us for Matthew Foster as assistant principal at the junior senior high school. Do I have a motion to accept that nomination?
I'd like to make that, accept that nomination.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well,
I'm going to hold that Maine thing against
I
you,
do.
Martin.
It seems as though we're being taken over by Maine. Our new superintendent, the first hire we see on here is from Maine, so I don't know if we should expect many more to cross the border.
No, I'm going back. I'm going back the other way.
Great looking background. Great looking background.
It's important, I think maybe it's already been said, but again, to that point, for people to know that this was a thorough process. There were a lot of eyes on this, a lot of, they're all listed here of people who conducted the interviews. It's a good cross-section, there are community members there. References were checked, the whole process, and I'm strongly of the belief, and I think we need to really get back to this as a school board, that we let people do their jobs. We support them, right? We check and we do our due diligence and we do our duty, but we don't put our fingers on buttons we shouldn't be pressing.
Yeah.
And we had
so many candidates that were just,
For this?
yes, again, it was, it was an all-day process again.
Well, you interviewed a half dozen,
Yes, it was all day again.
and so I'm sure you had more candidates than that initially, so you had a good cross-section.
Yeah, and again, it was a tough decision, and I don't know how they came to the final one, but I'm very happy with it.
Thanks again to the community members who participated on this search committee.
Absolutely.
We've had some great participation on several searches this year, and it's a very valuable part of the process, so thank you for that.
And yeah, the best part, just the kids, again.
Yep.
I love having the kids. I was talking to Chris about that. It's just, it adds a different level to it, and I love the looks on the candidate's face when we say, because, they ask questions, and I love the looks. And that's part of what you see, how they treat the kids, which is what I enjoy, too.
I have a motion from Mr. Zink, a second from Ms. Shelton to accept the nomination of Matthew Foster as assistant principal. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous, and we welcome Mr. Foster on board. Good luck, Mr. Bizzoni.
Thank you.
In our packets as well, we have a nomination form for school psychologist.
That's good.
Another one coming?
Hopefully.
Right, this is for the junior, senior high school?
Correct.
We still need to replace
One at
Ms.
the
Conley, we
elementary
just
school.
accepted the resignation. So the nomination, go ahead,
Thank you.
please.
This nomination for the school psychologist at the Newmarket Junior Senior High School, this person will replace Katie Freeman, who has left us to be with her family and enjoy another place, not in Maine.
Okay.
Amanda Neves, is that correct?
Yes.
Nibs, who currently is in another school district, Jaffrey Ringe, will come on board to be the school psychologist with your approval. Again, a committee looked, we talked, we vetted, and here we have a great, everyone she met, even not just on the committee, when she walked into the SAU and just gave us her packet, she was just so warm and friendly, it was really nice. She came very highly recommended.
I seek a motion to accept the nomination of Amanda Nieves for school psychologist.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, on a motion from Mr. Kennison, a second from Ms. McKinney, all those in favor of Amanda Nieves as school psychologist at the Newmarket Junior Senior High School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Then we are unanimous. We have one more nomination.
Your next nomination is a replacement for Gian Dufour, but the position is fourth grade. This is one of those bubble groups that's going to move up, so we didn't need them in second, but we needed it at a fourth grade position. The young lady who will join us as a fourth grade teacher, her name is Victoria Currier. She's currently already employed in our school district. She's actually been filling out a long-term sub in the second grade. She's been trained in the Carol Tolman reading environment that we've been using for 3 years. She'll be getting some training from Mahesh Sharma this summer as well. She's very excited, very pleased to be accepted as a full-time teacher, so I hope you will approve the nomination.
I seek a motion.
I'd like to approve the nomination of Victoria Courier.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, she's got I don't know.
Great
the person
background,
who
looks
had
good.
her, What a great background.
She's worked really hard.
On a motion from Mr. Zink, a second from Ms. Shelton, all those in favor of the nomination of Victoria Courier, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. In the packet, there are minutes of May 26th, 2016. I seek a motion.
I move to accept the minutes from May 26, 2016, public meeting and non-public meeting.
Second.
Any discussion, any amendments to be proposed? Hearing none, on a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Zink, to approve the May 26th, 2016 public and non-public meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we're unanimous. We had a very brief meeting, folks, on June 4th, a Saturday morning. We met at 9 o'clock upstairs in advance of the 10 o'clock public forum on facilities. No action was taken, no decisions made. I seek a motion to accept those non-public minutes as presented.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Anybody see anything? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented for June 4th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
I abstain.
Oh,
Oh, that's right.
that's right. We're 4-0-1. Great, thank you. On that day, manifests were put in front of us, but we didn't act on them. So I know that tonight we have manifests both from June 2nd and from June something.
16th.
16th?
16th.
Yep.
We have two.
I think there's two cover sheets. Left and right there were. You go just one page deeper, right there, yeah. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the payroll and AP manifest of 6/2/16. Payroll manifest in the amount of $269,554.16. Accounts payable manifest in the amount of $159,180.53 for a total of $428,734.69.
Second.
Any discussion? Motion from Mr. Zink, a second from Mr. Kennison. All those in favor of the manifest of 6/2/16 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. Mr. Zink.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the payroll and AP manifests of 6/16/16. That's a good one. Payroll manifest of $441,004.12. Accounts payable of $101,625.25 for a total of $542,629.37.
I'll second that.
A motion from Mr. Zink, a second from Ms. McKinney, approving the manifests of 6/16/2016. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And we're unanimous. Hey, a quick scheduling note. We generally meet first and third Thursdays, and we've played with the schedule a bunch in the last couple of months, and I don't want to play too much, but we also frequently don't meet in July.
Right.
What we do instead in July is retreat, do goal setting and the like. I thought the superintendent might like a day or two to settle in before we sit for a meeting, but I also thought we might not want to go all of the month without anything. So until Meredith has had a chance to contemplate, she's got the staff going away. What week is it? The common knowledge. Week of the 11th? Okay. So there again, she's got a chance to meet with her team, but not to be in the office much. So I thought we'd just skip the 7th, like we normally do, but we'd leave tentatively scheduled a meeting on the third Thursday, July 21st. Mike just got done talking about potentially being ready to pull the trigger on a construction management partner. And so I think maybe we just stay flexible. The thought was, even if we don't meet in a public session like this on the 21st, in the month of July somewhere, we ought to find ourselves a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour, wait till the superintendent offers up suggestions about what to do, but we ought to retreat at some point so we can just kind of brainstorm about the year ahead and the priorities. And
It's really important.
we've been a long time not focused on education, and now we have a real educator to focus on education with us, so to talk a little bit about where we might go is going to be important. So so I guess I just want to be able to publicly say, don't look for us to meet on the 7th, but we anticipate having a public session at some point before July's over, because there's some things we're going to have to act on. So is that okay? We have a couple of personnel matters that we should talk about tonight so that we can act on them before the end of the month. So I would ask the board to go into non-public session. I need a motion from somebody under 91A3, Section 2A for personnel matters.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison. Need a roll call vote. Mr. Zink.
Aye.
Ms. Shelton.
Aye.
Mr. Kennison.
Aye.
Ms. McKinney.
Aye.
Mr. Lunny is an aye. We're into non-public at 8:52. Thank you very much, folks. Have a great night.
Can you just do that calendar?